All right, everybody, we're going to go ahead and get started. I am the substitute MC for today since Elisa had a last minute encounter. However, I'm Eduardo Braco Rios, the president of the Phoenix chapter of Prospanica, and I'm honored to be here in front of you guys, and also honored to present Eric Diaz, who's not only an amazing person, but also I can count him as a good friend of mine here in the Phoenix area. So before we dive deep into that, I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit of a presentation on the upcoming events. Give me just 1 second. I'm going to share my screen here. All right. So today's topic is AI-powered productivity. We're going to talk about unleashing efficiency in the modern workplace. I'm very excited about this topic. If you guys saw the earlier videos that Eric did, I thought I was the king of corniness. I guess he did a pretty good job himself. Great presentation. But one of the things that he mentioned was ChatGPT isn't everything that AI is all about. And frankly, right now, ChatGPT is all I personally use. I'm looking forward to learn all about this. But here's a couple of quick announcements. First of all, make cafecito. I want everybody to go ahead and take a moment. I'm assuming most of you are in front of your computer screen. Scan that code. We're going to have on May the 4th, cafecito on us. Come on by, network, or just come grab it and go on your Capo Joe. Okay, so it's going to be anytime between 8:30 and 11. If you're a Prospanica member or guest, come by, say that you're coming here on behalf of Prospanica, and the cafecito will be on us. So I look forward to seeing you guys there. Okay. Again, make sure you scan that. Third Thursday, we're going to have our speed networking event with United Health Group. We just secured the location, so we don't have a QR code just yet, but we're very excited about it. It's going to be in downtown Phoenix at the Pub at Thunderbird School of Global Management. Very excited. I graduated from there. It's a very fun place to be. So it's going to be in the top floor at the Pub at Thunderbird, May 17th from 4 to 6. Make sure to save the date. Finally, last Thursday, masterclass. We are finalizing the details, but it's going to be on last Thursday, May the 30th, from 2:30 to 3:30 p.m. And please make sure to join us for that event. Go ahead and save the date and mark that on your calendar. Okay, I'm assuming everybody already took their phones out. Take your phones back out for the next scan. I want to make sure you're following us on social media. That way you're not missing out on all these amazing events that our chapter is projecting here for Phoenix and really for the world when it comes to our master classes. Join us on LinkedIn if you don't follow us, if you haven't already. Same thing on Instagram. You can also find us on Facebook and Twitter. All right, so take a few seconds here to scan. All right, now I'm very excited to present to you this good-looking guy, Professor Eric Diaz. He is multifaceted here. He is a partner at Nativa since 2010. He was also a board member of Prospanica and served with me, I think, 2015 and beyond, something to that effect. You can see he co-founded OE Intelligence, and he's a professor at Phoenix College. So I'm very excited, Eric. You ready to rock and roll?
Absolutely. You guys hear me okay?
Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing and let you take over.
Sounds good. Let me do a brief intro. And one of the things, so as Eduardo mentioned, I run an advertising agency, Nativa. And so Nativa, basically what we do is multicultural marketing advertising for a lot of brands, organizations, probably things you buy at Walmart. We do work for Jack Daniels, we do work for Charmin toilet paper, we do work for Got2b hair products, stuff like that. We also have a very big government and nonprofit sector. So we work for organizations like American Red Cross, Planned Parenthood, as well as Health and Human Services. But along the way, one of the main things that we have to do to kind of keep relevant and keep make sure that we're providing the best solution, marketing and advertising solutions for for our customers is really keeping in tune with what's new and making sure that we're being productive. So Nativa is very proud of we have a very youthful workforce. We recruit heavily from the colleges around Arizona. And so one of the persons I want to introduce on my team right now is Britton Scholar. So Britton has been a part of our team since last year and has brought a lot to the table for us. Is kind of like a model employee of like what our kind of youthful employees bring to our clients as far as new ideas, new ways to find resources or to find a strategic advantage for their marketing campaigns. So along the way so we're going to talk a little bit about different types of productivity tools because as last time we did this, it wasn't that long ago. It was probably 6 months ago, and it was really more focused about like, hey, what is AI and all of that, and kind of more focused on just ChatGPT. And while we are going to talk a bit about ChatGPT and compare it to Gemini with Google, that's not all we're going to talk about today. So that's just a small part of it. So now today we're going to talk more about just in the workforce in general, like what are some of the other tools that our team is using. So I had Britton do a ton of research on this. He's been working on this for a while, and talking to our team, what are people using? How are they finding ways to be more productive in the workplace? So that's what we've done here is we've kind of streamlined down to the main areas that we're using and some of the tools that we recommend, and we're going to show you some examples and some ways to use this stuff, and also be clear as far as like a lot of these tools are still in beta modes, and they're usually very upfront, like, hey, double check these things or check the results may not always be accurate, and Google's Gemini tool is very upfront about that. You kind of have to take it with a grain of salt or double check things like that. But as far as being productivity tools, yes, absolutely, they can save you a lot of time, but you do have to make sure that you are doing your diligence on this as well, and as well as checking, and we'll talk about this a little bit more, checking terms of service, make sure that that you're able to use things for like commercial applications and stuff like that. If you're providing it to clients, just make sure that it's not prohibiting you in any way. But with that, I think Britton, what I'll do is I'm gonna share my screen here, and then and we'll get started on the first section. All right, so let me know when you can see it here.
Yeah, and I just want to jump in really quick. If anybody has
Yeah.
questions throughout this presentation, feel free to drop them in the chat. And then either I or Eric will try to get to those questions as they pop up.
All right. So Britton, I'm gonna I think what we'll do is we'll just touch base a little bit. This is kind of reiterating a little bit about what is AI, and then which is more of what we did last time. But feel free to add anything if I miss it. But basically, as I mentioned in the first statement, computer systems simulate human intelligence. It's learning through a lot of different records that it's analyzing. And then now, as we said, applications are huge. So we're going to talk about a number of them today, such as taking meeting minutes or meeting notes, some of the things like project management tools and how they're starting to use AI to maybe, for example, like an Asana or something like a project management tool telling you if a project's in danger of being off track, things like that. So they're kind of taking the next level with a lot of tools that we already use and been using for the last 5 years, how some of the existing platforms are starting to incorporate more AI into their platforms. And then types, narrow AI, so very, very specific, and in general, so more like with Google searching and things like that. And then, as we mentioned, we touched on definitely some ethical considerations as we talk about this as well. All right, so current productivity tools. So Britton, so one of the things I think is good as far as a refresher, and I'll kind of let you talk a little bit about what's the main difference about ChatGPT and Gemini. Which one do you use personally? Just curious.
So that was kind of interesting. For a while, I've been using ChatGPT, but recently I've switched over to Gemini just because it has some better functions, seeing as it's the newest competitor to ChatGPT. We'll probably show off a little bit of Gemini shortly. But the thing is, between the two, they're incredibly similar. If you go into Gemini and you're familiar with ChatGPT, you'll recognize the interface immediately. It's practically the same. Basically, Gemini is Google's competitive version, or their competition to ChatGPT. Has almost all of the same functions, slight differences. It's a little bit behind in some of the game, but for the most part, I'd say that Gemini, for the time being, is slightly superior to ChatGPT, and I think it probably will continue to be superior going forward.
Great points. And then guys that are listening in, if anybody, feel free to just add in the chat what your tool of choice is, or if there's a different assistant that you use other than ChatGPT or Gemini. Personally, I also like Gemini, and I think it's just because I'm a big Google user. So I think just it's being built in everywhere. Obviously, I use ChatGPT, but I've kind of switched over to Gemini in the last few months. I think similar reasons as well. It's just been a little bit easier for me to use. Let's see what some of the comments are here. Okay, nothing yet. Let me move that. Okay, so yeah, Gemini, it should probably pop up on, if you have an Android phone. I don't know if it auto installs, or you might have to. I'm sure you get a pop up that says like, "Hey, do you want to download Gemini?" And it'll be a good way for you guys to check it out. And also, I see Copilot. Did we, Britton, remind me, did we have any information on Copilot? Or I know it's not one of the features for today, but let me know if you have any insights on that one.
We have a little bit on it. One of the major uses and benefits to Copilot over the two of them, while it doesn't come up today, is some of its coding help. It's been really refined for helping with coding advice and really expediting some of those processes. However, it won't come up in today's meeting, but it is worth noting that Microsoft has also been working on their tool to throw in kind of their hat into the ring between ChatGPT, Gemini, and now Microsoft has its one that that's also worth checking out.
Got it. Okay. As far as like the differences, let's talk about that. So a little bit of the pros. I mean, I think being the first one in the market for ChatGPT, maybe not the first one, but the first one to really, as you put, successfully to market their platform, I think it has a huge advantage. And then, as you mentioned, extensive documentation, familiarity. Like everybody heard about ChatGPT last year for sure. But then some of the cons, some of the limited tools, and then you having to pay. I think that there's a main impetus towards moving towards a paid version. Whereas with Gemini, it looks like this guy and I'll just talk about Gemini briefly, and I'll let you talk about SGE, or Search Generative Experience, Britton. But I think that one of the things that I haven't even seen a paid version of Gemini. And I'm sure it's coming, but I haven't seen that yet.
I can jump in on that, and I'll add that once you finish up those parts. But there is recently a paid version, and I'll add some details about that once you finish.
Perfect. But yeah, I think that the main feature for me, I guess, that I think really differentiates it is the connected to the internet. So being more recent information in ChatGPT, because isn't that one of the limitations is that it tells you it's only updated through X date, which is a little bit, I guess, kind of old. Would be kind of a bit of a disadvantage to using ChatGPT.
Yes, that is one of the main differences, is that the Gemini has internet access. It's leading to some issues. But the thing is, I'd say that ChatGPT's performance is a bit superior, and that's one of the things that's mentioned the cons for it, is since ChatGPT has been in the market for a while, basically being beta tested for a while, there's been a lot more feedback that's allowed the algorithms and the system that it's run by are off of the model to be a lot more refined, and now it spits out a lot less inaccurate information, which is a problem with these generative tools, or generative text tools. However, Google still has some issues with that. It's getting better too, and I think that gap will probably be closed fairly quickly. But that is one thing that I do want to mention with it. The other tool that I do want to mention, and I'm going to share a link in the our chat if we can stay on that slide really quick, is SGE, the search, what is it? Search generative experience that Google offers, and some of the other tools are starting to offer it too, but I wanted to highlight Google's version of it because it'd be very hard and very time consuming to include every tool on the market right now for a lot of these topics. So we really wanted to highlight some of the few that were coming out. But right here is where you can sign up for the search generative experience. What this tool does, and if Eric wants to click on it, you can go here and you can look at Google's current AI experiments, as they call them. Here you can sign up for the feature. Right now, if Eric wants to click on turn on for the search generative experience, like it will give you like a little thing. You can choose whether or not you want the email updates. But what this tool does is it adds AI to your search features, which is a really cool tool just to use. So if Eric wants to either say try example or just like look up here's a great one. How do I make avocados last longer? At the top of here, you can see the AI overview of where or what basically Google has pulled from the top searches or the top results for this category. And then it categorizes and summarizes everything for you instead of having to go through every single topic itself. And if Eric wants to scroll down slightly and click on that show more. Let's see, as we go down, you can see that little arrow next to plastic wrap. And beneath it, this is where it's pulled all of the information from, the all recipes, the Quora.com. And if you click on one of these even, like one of the topics, it should open it up, and then it doesn't look like it's pulling it for this one, but usually this tool can also highlight where it's gotten specific bits of information, which can be incredibly helpful. It's just a really great way to cut down on research time and to figure out quick answers to topics instead of having to search a bunch of topics. Like right here is a great one, is he clicked on the all recipes and it highlights specifically where it's gathered a key piece of information from that it includes in that summary. So tools like this that Google's integrating, I know Bing also has a version of this too, really helps on cutting down on research and making it a lot easier to find answers to information. And just one of the tools that we wanted to highlight today.
All right, let me pull this up full screen again. All right, so next let's talk about project management a bit more. Main thing here, I mean, I'm sure most of you guys use a project management tool of some sort. We use Asana. That's our personal platform that we use at our office. But there's a lot of tools, and I'll let Britton kind of review some of the highlights from that. But some of the things that they're looking for as far as AI uses in this is discovering what tasks are needed to complete a project, writing the task descriptions themselves, creating schedules, things that take a lot of time. And then check if as I mentioned earlier, checking if the project is on target or is it at risk of going wrong, and then gaining insights into how to course correct. All right, so Britton, let me know if you want me to bring up anything on this one.
I think this one's worth noting. Motion is an interesting tool that's come out. A lot of people have reviewed it very well. And unlike other project management platforms, which we'll mention some in the next slide, however, Motion was built from the ground up with a lot of the new technologies, AI technologies built in. So it is built around AI, which has made it a very interesting tool. Some of the things that it does is not only do you get to input what projects you have, what their deadline is, what their priority, a number of other parameters around what the project is. Then Motion can go from there and then create all the tasks to complete that project and then populate your preferred schedule apps such as Google Calendar or Apple Calendars with all of these tasks that you need to complete to make sure that you get it done by the deadline, and it will even warn you if it doesn't think that you have enough time to complete it. It can also schedule meetings for you. You can have time slots like open when you set out meetings. It just has like a lot of tools that a lot of the traditional project management software has, but it completely automates all the processes. It's definitely one that I recommend checking out. And a lot of people talk about it also being highly useful, not just for work, but for for personal life as well. And I do believe, yes, it does connect with Outlook.
Motion you mentioned does connect with Outlook.
Yes, it does. From what I recall, or from what I
Oh,
remember
that's
when I did
perfect.
my research.
So probably then I imagine usually when they do that, they can probably connect to Google Calendars.
Yep, they can connect to Google Calendars, Apple Calendars, Outlook. They can't connect to all the calendars, but they connect to most of the main ones.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
Very good.
And I also just want to say too that we'll be sharing these slides with everybody. And at the very last slide, there will be links to every tool mentioned within this presentation. So if you want to go back later, here's something that's interesting to you, feel free to go to that final slide and check out any of those tools.
Sounds good. And then what are some of the highlights from some of the other project management tools you looked at?
I would say that for the most part, a lot of the older tools are also now embracing AI features as that's becoming kind of the norm now. So a lot of them want to play catch up. They want to, or not catch up, but they want to be at the head of the game. So some of the ones I mentioned here, Asana Intelligence, that's Asana's brand of it. Trello has Strategy AI. ClickUp, which is a newer one. A lot of people compare it to Trello if you haven't heard of it before. However, it's a bit of a cheaper option than Trello. So if you really want to, or sorry, than Asana, it's compared to Asana often. So if you want a cheaper version of Asana, ClickUp might be worth looking at. But all of them are embracing AI. The main thing that a lot of them do is content writing, as in helping you write descriptions, helping you write messages to team members to really increase efficiency when it comes to communicating what needs to be done. A lot of them can give like project status updates, like looking at what's going on. You can quickly make sure things are on task. And then also like Motion has identifying at-risk projects, noticing that, hey, there's a lot of projects that need to be completed by this timeline. We don't think that they're going to be completed by this timeline. You may need to review this. And then also just summarizing content, like what have you done for the week and helping you summarize or sum up what has happened in a little statement so that you can share that as a project lead or just however else you might need that talking to, higher ups or anything.
Good. So, Brendan, I think the next topic, I know with us with the agency and working with clients and working with vendors, we have a ton of meetings, and I'm sure that's not unlike a lot of the folks on this call. So why don't we talk about meeting minutes a little, or meetings and how AI tools can be used for that? And just curious, like, what have you seen as far as like what are some of the main benefits from meeting software using AI?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, there are some great tools out there. I'm also seeing some great questions about Jira and Workfront. I have not personally done research into it, but those are great questions. And we can definitely look into that and possibly send some of that in a follow-up email. But right now, all I can say is I do not know personally if they are integrated. Most of them will probably doing in-house integration. But there are other tools, business to business, that might exist that can integrate them, but that's not something that I can speak to at the moment. As far as meeting notes goes, there's a lot of really cool tools out there, and there's also some other ways of going about it. But two of the ones that we mentioned here are very specifically ones designed around meeting notes. They're interesting applications. You can either stream or have your meetings through them, or you can upload a video post. But what these applications do, Fireflies.ai and Otter.ai, they both break down, transcribe all the information from a meeting. They can either do it live or, like I said, you upload a video later, and then they can create meeting notes for you automatically. They can create action lists. They can create the summaries. They can create everything that you need to make that email blast right after the meeting, or just to have that reminder afterwards. However, that is one of the problems with both of these applications that came up in my research, is that they're English only and they do at times struggle with accents. However, I know that these have been really are a big area of focus because I know this is a major limitation. along with some of their competitors or some competitors that are growing. And they really want to shore up that weakness. So I'm imagining within the next couple of years, even months, likely that we'll see this addressed. However, at the time being, both of these struggle with heavier accents and non-English support. But that doesn't mean that that will always be the case. So there are definitely things to at least keep an eye on in the future.
Perfect. And then what about content generation? And I know that's can be a controversial topic a bit about as what we're saying, like what you're able to use in commercial applications. So I think we should talk a little bit about that. What software you've seen that works really well. I know personally I'm an NBA fan, so I'm starting to see a ton of these commercials for what some of the AI tools that you can use, I think on the Google phone. And so it's definitely out there now as far as quickly being able to edit photos without having a huge background in Photoshop and some of the traditional platforms. So yeah, if you can, let's talk a little bit more about the content generation.
Yes, our content generation, like you said, it can be a little bit of an interesting topic because of the legal ramifications. I'm just going to throw in there really quickly about the PowerPoint templates. That is also something that I would love to have. I have not found something yet that has done AI design for PowerPoints, except for the design feature built into PowerPoint by Microsoft. So that is definitely something that I'm on the lookout for too. But I personally don't know anything that does it yet. I've only heard rumors of ones being created, but I haven't seen any projects that have gotten off the ground so far. As far as getting back to content creation, like I said, a bit of controversy, but controversy isn't necessarily what we'll focus on as much as some of the potential legal ramifications as law gets more codified moving forward. So we might see a lot of changes in this field, but some of the main tools that we broke down that we want to talk about is image generation, which has seen a lot of buzz, content writing, which are Gemini and ChatGPT will come up briefly again there, and voice generation and how some of these can be used moving forward, and some of the caveats with each of them. So for the first up here, image generation is a big one. It was one of the first ones I think that a lot of people started hearing buzz about AI generating something that hadn't existed before. And so we saw a lot of big jumps in it. A lot of the ones that have been at the forefront is DALL-E 3, Midjourney, and Stable Diffusion. They're able to turn a text description into a full image. They are trained on massive data sets of images and captions in order to create these images. That is some of where the issues are coming from legally is, do they have copyright to these images? And most of them are trained, or all three of these are trained on images that they don't own copyright to. And so a hot button topic is that legal? There's a lot of argument about, well, is it transformative or is it not transformative, which at least in the United States would determine whether it's okay. However, the EU will also have a big say on it, and I'm not familiar with EU law to know how it's gonna be swayed. But even if the US says it's okay, if the EU says it's not, we can also see might see huge changes in how we're allowed to access or use these technologies. But the main thing is, for now, they can be text can turn into imagery. They're not always perfect. There's like a whole world of a whole learning curve to figure out how to use these products. A lot of them can be range from easier. DALL-E 3, I think, tends to be a little bit more easy to use, whereas Stable Diffusion gives you a lot of customization, but at the same time, a lot of difficulty. But the big commercial one, which if Eric wants to go to the next slide, is Adobe Firefly. Adobe Firefly is basically the whole family of products that Adobe is currently working on, and some that have been released of generative tools. One of the big ones that was the first one to be released and is integrated fully into Photoshop is generative AI, which is the tool that allows a user to like circle out an area, a background, something that's not working, and then inputting a prompt and then allowing that space to be filled in with something else. It can help remove things from the background. It's a great way for people who aren't amazing with Photoshop to make edits in a much easier way. So it's a really interesting feature, and they're not just working on generative AI. As you can see to the right, they've are adding things that can extend images. I think some of that is starting to be integrated 3D to image. That one's still in our like works, text to pattern. There's like are several more that will really like change the way and make Photoshop a lot more accessible to a non-Photoshop person, which I can imagine like you can think of many uses for, including how to when you need to make a quick meetings or a quick poster for something, being able to create an image just by putting in text will make things a lot easier. One of the things I want to do talk about with this is that there's certain limitations. Some of it you have to pay in for, some of them you're allowed to beta test. And when it comes to the beta test, certain betas you are not allowed to commercially use. You really have to read your terms of service on these. Because some of them you're perfectly fine to use in commercial uses. Other ones you might run into some trouble. So with like all of these products, always be careful with the terms of service and how they say you're allowed to use them, because you don't want to you don't want to
Yeah, you
end up
can't just
having a
assume.
lawsuit.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think one thing I noticed on Firefly, because Firefly was one of the ones that was really cool, and as somebody mentioned right here at the on the chat, but that one specifically, and they don't hide it or anything. I think they try to make it more user friendly, but it specifically says that you can use it for commercial projects, which is nice, just to have it right up front, right there, so you're not having to like dig through like a terms of service, like a 10-page doc or something like that. But yeah, definitely can't assume that just all products are like that, because some of them are not.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's make sure to answer the question. I think we have a slide on this on voice generation, but let's talk about when we get there. Let's talk about transcription too on the when we get to the voice generation. Brett.
Yes. I know. Yeah. Perfect. Yeah, really quickly, we'll go through content writing. As I mentioned in here, Gemini and ChatGPT can also do this. But I also wanted to mention some tools that are specifically built around this. If you've missed out some of these uses before, they're great for generating ideas, drafts, overcoming writer's block. You have an email that you have to send in about 15 minutes, but it's to the CEO of a company that's outside of yours, and you really don't want to lose this deal. This is like the perfect tools to quickly write something up, sound professional, have a well-worded email that can be concise, that can be everything you need, and really take off that pressure, or just have that second lens on your writing when you want to go to a buddy and be like, hey, I really need you to read this over. That's where these tools can really help. You redefine and really rewrite what you have. So Jasper here is a AI, and all of these are really focused on creating content. They can either be email templates, but they also can be great for social media, for writing website copies, for writing all sorts of tools that you'll use when you're communicating with anybody outside the organization. That's personally how I love to use a lot of these tools, is really outside communications. They can write blog posts, social media captions, website copies, and they can really just aid with a lot of things. But the main thing that I do want to stress is that they still need human eyes on them. They're not perfect. They're not flawless. Sometimes their tone can be sort of there, but the tone will be a little bit off from what you want. So it always really benefits when you take a second to read over what it's given you and really make sure that it's in line with what you actually want to say versus just sounding like a robot, because they can definitely sound still a little bit robot-y or overly formal at times. And then here, voice generation has been a really interesting tool that's come out. We've probably all heard the different voice to text over the years, very robot-y, very inhuman. However, with AI, we are now able to create voices that sound like human voices, no longer sounding like a weird robot. The closest we had was Siri, and Siri sounded pretty good, but now everything has been changed with a lot of this technology. Several that I wanted to mention: Amazon Poly and then Microsoft Azure. You might recognize Microsoft Azure is the name of the cloud service that Microsoft provides. And Amazon Poly is within our Amazon's cloud service. And so both of these are tied up in the cloud services. They're not available individually. You need to sign up for the whole programs. Both of them have a similar free offer, 12 months free for you to try out these or try out both of these programs along with all of their features. So they're being very generous as they want to get people on board with their these services. But the thing is with them, they can create human voices that can be great for explainer videos, e-learning modules, presentations, social media posts, whatever you want to create with that. One of the things that is really cool is that they have diverse voices and, more importantly, languages. You can create very natural sounding or text to speech in different languages that you might not specialize in. And it can be a great way to communicate with other communities or other peoples with a language or with like actual voices that sound authentic rather than robot-y and nobody can understand what they're saying. And so I also have altered AI on here. This one's a voice changer. You speak into it and then it uses the same technology as Poly and Microsoft Azure to actually change your voice to sound like somebody else's. They have a bunch of pre-trained ones, but both of these tools provide a lot of interesting features. And then as Eric mentioned, they also have both Microsoft and Amazon and their cloud services have a transcribe function. Amazon transcribe is right here. If you actually see in the bottom part of that table that we have, the transcribe function is a very powerful tool. It's great at writing down anything that it hears and talking about the meeting notes earlier. And as somebody mentioned in chat, you can really use tools like that, like Amazon Transcribe, to get all of that data written down. And then you could even feed it into a different AI tool, such as I heard one, Sparks, I believe, is one, or like even ChatGPT or Gemini, to really summarize that content and help turning it into meeting notes. So you might not even need Otter AI or Firefly's AI. So I also wanted to take some time to mention that.
Perfect. All right, and I'll start off with this, Britton, and just let me know if I miss anything. But yeah, kind of as we've been mentioning, got to read the terms of service. Make sure that that you are able to use it in commercial platform. That's something that for market agencies such as us, yeah, it's important because we are creating imagery or text for clients, so we have to make sure that we're not putting them in a bad position. The same for you guys in your industries. Just need to make sure that it's okay for commercial applications, which most of them are. And like I said, they'll usually they are pretty upfront. They're not hiding it somewhere, whether they are or not. So another thing, the data that you're putting in is generally being reused and repurposed, and it's going to be, and while it should remain private, you just have to keep in mind that that information is being used for training. They always warn you, don't include private information. Obviously, like things that you're seeing, such as social security numbers, all of that, employee information, any kind of thing like that. You don't want to put that out there because it is getting used for training of future AI models. And then most of these platforms, they do have settings that control what you're putting in and what's going to be used for those training platforms in the future. Anything else you want to add on to that one, Britton?
Yeah, just the last little note that while you still should be careful, some applications such as ChatGPT If you go into their settings, you do get control of the data usage. All of them should technically provide it. However, with Gemini, they did not allow you to limit their use of your data as much as ChatGPT, but ChatGPT, you can go into settings and you can say, do not use my data for training. So there are some options to at least like, if you want to, if that's a security concern, particularly to your company, to you, you can definitely have some control over how the companies will use your data. However, it's still best practice to not enter it still, just in case.
Got it. Finally, just wrapping it up, Brendan, if you would provide what the summary and then the conclusion.
Yeah, we just throughout this presentation, we've mentioned several of the tools that have come out. This is definitely not exhaustive. There are so many tools that are still coming out. It'd be impossible to include them all. This would be like a 72-hour presentation, which I don't think anybody has time for. So because that, we chose just several topics to talk about. To remind you, they were project management tools. They can be great for cutting planning time. Cost associated with that, virtual assistants that can help with a variety of tasks, especially with research tasks. Meeting note apps can help you focus on the meeting rather than note taking. Image generation can help inspire, guide visual aid creation. Content writing can help with write blogs, social media copies, even emails. Voice generation can help create our consistent, high quality voiceovers for whatever you need in a variety of fields. And some final notes is all of these tools are powerful assistants. I highly recommend getting familiar with them and trying out new ones. Like I said, there is so many that we did not mention here that still highly recommend investigating. So many that I don't know about still as they continue to come out, but they can greatly improve so many functions, can cut down on time for so many tasks. And there's always new ones in development. There's new innovations, but also there's going to be a lot of disruptions during this time. So expect things to get changed around a lot. Also expect some tools to potentially maybe alter as laws might change. So some things might not stay the same as they are right now, as either the beta ends. They find new models in order to capture some of the or capture some revenue from these projects that they're not are currently capturing revenue. There will likely be a lot of changes moving forward, but I always recommend that you should research and experiment. Find new tools. Look at all those articles that are always coming out about XYZ. Look at this cool thing that can do this and that, and never thought we could do this. And just keep your ears out. However, like I said, want to really recommend that you be cautious. This technology is developing. TOS, terms of service, will likely change over time. And what is allowed might not be allowed tomorrow. What isn't allowed now might be allowed tomorrow. A lot of it's changing, and also a lot of these things can still create errors. Because unlike programming traditionally, where every feature is implemented, specifically, all of these are just trained on a data set. They just spew out everything. And there's filters added to them to reduce the amount of incorrect information. So they still can spew out occasionally something that's completely fabricated or something that you completely do not want. So always kind of double check whatever AI gives you.
Very good. And Brent, I know one of the main questions that we had last time was, how can we check out some of this stuff on our own? So, I do want to mention that I believe that Prospanica will be sharing this deck, and everybody will get these. We'll be able to check out any of these that we mentioned. And this is just kind of like the summary from a list that was 10 times as long as this, because to get to the ones we thought were most relevant, we had to try a lot of them. So these are the best ones. These are the ones that I don't want to say the best, because there's nothing wrong with Microsoft Copilot, for example, but these are the ones that kind of cut through for us, and we just wanted to highlight them. But there's definitely more than this, but these are the ones that we specifically mentioned and spent a little bit more time with on today's call. And I think with that, I think we're open for questions. We got a little bit of time. And anybody that has a question that did not post it, please feel free. Eduardo, I'm sure you got a question or two, no?
Well, I've got a comment, but I think Victor there. I'm gonna go ahead and mute him. Go ahead, Victor.
Yeah, so a question I have is, how would you guys recommend introducing other people in the organization to these tools? Like, what have you, in your experience, what's the best way for you to say, like, hey, I found this really awesome tool. How do I, or maybe I should just ask the AI, right?
Yeah, you could. Yeah, that's a great point. I think something that we did on the last time we presented this, Britton took a lot of time actually chatting with the folks on our team that do different functions. Like some are like writing more copy and some are doing more graphic work. Basically just ask them like, how do you use AI and like what tools are you using? How do you use it? You know, what are you doing? And then from there, he gathered basically, I mean, this didn't take long. We're talking, you know, like an hour or something like that. He basically took some of the tidbits and the best feedback that he got from the team and basically just documented it. And then we had our like kind of like an internal 30-minute presentation on how we're using AI and you know kind of the same things that we just talked about, like what to be careful with, what to do, what not to do, things like that. And then we kind of just put like testimonials and be like, well, Gabby uses image generation this way. And Selena, her first language is Spanish, so she uses voice transcriptions to help her to help her get the written English, so that way that she can read that in case she wasn't clear during the meeting of what the client said. So things like that were really eye openers, and I think that really kind of made it easier for somebody to digest because it's like, hey, we're not just being told to do this, but like, oh, that's that's somebody from my team, and this is how they use it already. And that's just one approach that I have, but I'm sure there's many more.
Well, jumping off or actually adding to that, I think that's basically it. Like when I first came into Nativa, I hadn't used any of the AI tools. And as soon as I started having some projects, I had one of my coworkers be like, hey, I use ChatGPT to really speed up this process. And I was like, wait, what? It can do that? And she was like, yeah, like totally. If you use this, it can help you give a whole outline for a blog post. And I was like, really? Okay. And so it was just basically sharing, having an open environment where being encouraged to both experiment with it, figure out what it can do, but then also being encouraged to share that information and say, hey, this task that took like 2 hours, I just did it in like 30 minutes. Really encouraged me to adopt it. So if you have some of those moments, what have you used it for? What did it expedite in your process? And sharing that, I think really generates a lot of buy-in for people.
Great feedback. Do we have other questions? I'll throw in a question for you. Before I do, I want to make sure that people are not asleep here on the screen. So if you guys can just say hi on the chat, I want to make sure that everybody's attentive for the last few minutes. Okay, good. Okay, just wanted to make sure we're active here. So in my case, I am using AI a little bit more to help me with putting together some well, not so much blog posts, putting together some reels and posts so that I can put my material out there, right? My financial material out there. I've used ChatGPT and I noticed that there's a little bit of an iterative process there. You get the feedback from ChatGPT, you double check, you clean it up. One of the other tools that I heard was good, I don't think I saw it in your list, was Canva. Did I see that in your list? And would you recommend it as a tool to use for posts?
We use Canva a lot. But Britton, I don't know, did we look at that as far as AI features in there?
I had not saw a lot of discussion around it, though it might have just escaped my radar, because there's quite a few things I was looking at. But I was not familiar with Canva's current AI features.
Yeah, so we're fans. We just don't know about the AI feature.
Yeah,
Have you seen some or no?
I haven't used it. Somebody quickly showed me something on camera, like, okay, that looks great, but I couldn't capture it all. So I haven't had the chance to use it personally. I am very curious to look into it.
Actually, yes, I remember. I have seen stuff about it. Sorry, I just looked it up. I've actually seen a couple of commercials about it. I have heard paid endorsements of it. However, I haven't heard any non-paid endorsements of it. So I cannot say whether it's actually or how good it is. However, some of the other features that I have seen similar to it out in the wild would suggest that it's probably great. However, what I have seen is it does have the issue of text. A lot of image generators, when because they're just are trained on a whole bunch of different pictures, when they try to make some text, it just turns into gibberish because it's just smashing together random letters. So as long as you try to make sure your prompt doesn't encourage it to have text in it, that you'll have to like then manually replace, it should be a really cool tool for creating logos and other things like that.
So thank you so much. Any other questions? I got another one in case, but any other questions? Okay, I'll throw in one more. What would you say is some of the most disruptive technology that's coming as far as AI over the coming year? What is the up and coming technology that you're seeing that we should be on the lookout for? It's funny, we used to say over the next 10 years. Now I'm saying over the next year. I should probably say over the next 3 months, but
I know it's changing that quick. Britton, I'll probably let you think about this one as just because your expertise and kind of your diligence going through all these tools. Yeah, curious what your thoughts are.
That's been a hard one. I've been trying to think about that, but like honestly, quite a bit lately. The problem is, it's been really hard to predict. A lot of them that are up and coming, I'd say that almost any of the tools that have been coming out, can be a reasonable disruptor. Project management tools, I think will, as they get integrated, might really change the face of how projects are handled. But there's like so many tools that are coming out. And one of the things that I think is worth mentioning is just that right now we're in this early stage of when everything comes out, but as we're going along, there's a good chance that things will start slowing down a little bit in terms of rapid innovation in this AI field. Though I don't think that's like in the next year. I think that's in like the next 5 years, but that doesn't mean that there can't be a couple of really big new uses for this technology to come out in the next couple of years. But I think it's still changing so much that I personally have no idea what's going to be the next use, the next idea that's going to come out of this new field.
thank you so much. Last chance for questions before we go into some announcements. Any other questions? Okay, well, thank you so much, Britton. Thank you so much, Eric. This is packed with information, very impactful information that I personally will be using very quickly. So let me go ahead and share some upcoming events. But before I do, if you guys are following Prospanica Phoenix on social media, say following, if you don't mind putting on the chat box. Okay, while that response is coming through, again, if you are following us on social media, if you could type in following, because I want to make sure that you do, right? We have our events every third Thursday, our incoming in-person networking events, third Thursday of the month. Every last Thursday of the month, we have value pack master classes, such as this one with Eric and Britton. And now starting the first Saturday of May, we're having our monthly cafecitos. So I'm gonna share that again briefly here, but make sure that you're following us here. So here is our cafecito again. May the 4th. May the 4th be with you. Go ahead and scan that if you haven't already, so that you can register for the event. Just come on over. Come on, spend a few minutes, chat with us, sit down for the whole time, or grab and go with your cap with Joe. It's a way for us to give back to our community, to our members, and come enjoy some coffee or other beverage on us. Okay, third Thursday of May, again, speed networking event, sponsored by United Health Group. I'm very excited about this event. My own alma mater, Thunderbird School of Global Management. It has a nice pub, central downtown Phoenix, in the 5th floor. So looking forward to seeing you guys there. Expect some communications to come through. The last Thursday masterclass, we will send communication soon with the details of that one. Again, last Thursday of the month from 2:30 to 3:30 Arizona time. And our next slideshow, again, for those of you who aren't yet following us, please make sure to do so. You can really quickly scan for LinkedIn or Instagram here. Take a moment to do that. You can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter, but we're very active in social media. If you want to get the latest information on networking events, scholarships, community events, master classes, other events of value, career fairs, make sure you're following us. And with that said, we got a couple minutes left to go. So I'm going to give you guys about 2 minutes. Thank you again, Eric. Thank you again, Britton, for this value packed, in my brain, action packed masterclass, and for all you do for us.
Of course, our pleasure. Thank you.
Take care, everybody. Have a good one.
Thank you.